Howdy folks, Justin here, and back with another brand new card. Like, this is, oh man, every day. I know gameplay videos are why most of you are here. That's frankly what I enjoy doing more also, but I gotta pace myself. I gotta do one video a day, and we've had a reveal every day for quite a while now. So, that said, this is the new card that was revealed by Charmer and myself on the Fun and Interactive podcast. I'm actually recording this before that podcast happens, so I don't know how that discussion is going to go, but the podcast ends late, and I'm an old man, so I gotta get my sleep. Harmony. Harmony is the card. This card is funny. 2 Magicka action. Prophecy. Give all enemy creatures -2, -0 until the start of your turn. So what is this card all about? Well, first of all, if you're a frequent viewer of the channel, you may know that one of the things, or my streams, you may know that one of the things I say a lot is that I just realized that the microphone is not plugged in correctly. You may realize one of the things that I say a lot is, fuck Aerostorm. This is Aerostorm. That's Harmony. Obviously, you can see that this is, a reasonable combo. But you're not going to run Aerostorm. But I just wanted to throw this out there before I get into more about how I feel about this card. That when this inevitably happens to me in Arena, I will be switching the channel over to full-time Minesweeper. So be prepared for that. But yeah, Harmony is a fascinating card. We've never seen an effect like this that lasts... that works quite like this, right? Like, in terms of other cards that give minus stats in this color, we have quite a few things. We have Calm, we have Orvis' Bargain, Clouders Illusionist is the one we actually play, Karthspire Scourge, Sench Tiger, and then there's also, I don't know why it's not showing up here, oh, it says Reduced to 0. There is also Shrine Guardian. So, reducing the power on creatures is totally in Willpower Yellow's color pie, color abilities. What's interesting about this card is the duration, right? It happens during your turn to allow for profitable trades. It's a pretty neat prophecy. And what it also does, and probably is the reason that it's in the Frostspark collection, I still can't get over that name, but in the Frostspark collection, is that first, it breaks the swing of a huge conscription turn sometimes. Now, not completely, but it does do some pretty great things against a player who just played conscription by, nullifying their next attack. Is that good enough to fight conscription? I'm not sure. Harmony is a tough one to judge. The effect is certainly powerful. For 2 Magicka, affecting the whole board is huge. 2 Magicka is what you would expect to pay for this effect, I think. Even if it didn't have Prophecy. So the fact that it has Prophecy and still costs 2 Magicka is pretty nice. But this is a really tough one to judge. It's certainly going to be bad in some metagames. That is for sure. No matter how many cards you put in your deck to combo with it, and there's not a whole lot, but I mean, there is, of course, there's Aerostorm, which is obviously hilarious, and pretty unplayable. Oh god, it's a 6-drop? I don't even remember the name of the card. Spiteful Dremora, I think? There we go, it's a 5-drop, yeah. So, Spiteful Dremora is kind of a combo with this, but you're getting, you're not getting a lot of board presence. You're spending 2 cards. Obviously, it plays well with Execute. And I think this is more playable than other Execute enablers like Calm. Calm is sort of bad. Although it is historically a card that has seen play in the ladder. Harmony's global effect is what makes it interesting. So when is Harmony going to be good, right? Obviously, in a Conscription Mirror, it's bonkers. The only deck that exists now that could play Harmony and Conscription in the same turn into an opponent's Conscription is Redoran Conscription, and I'm not sure they want to do that. I think Redoran Conscription actually has a pretty good Telvanni Conscription matchup. It has some weaker matchups than Telvanni in other places, but it does have the right colors to ramp and play Harmony, and then get some super favorable trades. But that deck already runs Praetorian Commander, already runs Divine Fervor, so its conscriptions are going to be more powerful as far as board presence goes than Telvanni's are going to be all day. Telvanni largely wins through the resources it generates by drawing cards when it conscriptions, and just beating you down sometimes in the meantime. But Harmony is a tough one to judge because the effect is so powerful that you have to... it's easy to imagine situations where this blows your opponent out. So I was thinking about decks that give a shit about the board, and a couple came to mind. historically mid-range life gain Crusader, a deck that I've talked a lot about since, even though I haven't played it in like 9 months because it's just not good right now. Although I'm thinking about working on it some more here in the future, is the kind of card that tries to favorably trade for the board in the mid game before going to the late game. It's a classic mid-range deck, you know. Is Harmony worth a slot in that deck? That's the problem, right? I mean, if this card costs 3 and it drew you a card in addition to doing what it does, it would be amazing, and I would definitely play it. At 2, you have to find a way to accommodate for the card advantage, the card disadvantage that playing Harmony is going to generate. Now, it does cost less, little enough that you can play multiple cards in one turn, which led me to think about charge creatures as removal. This is something that I did with Battle Mage back before Journey to Sovngarde got nerfed, and you could play a deck full of charge creatures, and I played them as removal spells, and then Journey to Sovngarde tells you conscription and put like 45 power on the board. Obviously that doesn't work anymore, but it is possible to play a deck where you're using charge creatures as removal. Sometimes in my mid-range Dagoth deck, Illusory Dagoths, I run a huge number of charge creatures, and sometimes that's the correct way to play that deck. So which creatures would be good for this, right? You're obviously locked into just 2 colors, red and green, for charge creatures. Cliffstrider's kind of born to do this sort of thing. The question becomes, is Monk good for this? Well, that's hard to say. Territorial Viper might survive an extra turn. Giant Bat can trade with very small creatures, but the rest of these, other than Cliff Racers, which is just a good card, are kind of difficult to create favorable trades with. Stormcloak Vanguard's not going to kill a lot. Battle Rage Orc has the same problem that Bat does. And then you're looking at Underworld Vigilante, Wood Orc Headhunter, Swiftwing Dragon as your charge creatures as removal. So I kind of discounted that as a reasonable place to play this card. Although there are going to be board states and in matches where it would have been a blowout if you had Harmony instead of whatever other card you had in your hand. But running it consistently and always finding value for it is going to be the challenge. So I have to admit, I came back to fucking Aerostorm. Is Aerostorm Harmony worth playing on any planet in any deck? And I started to think about this. What deck loses to 4 power creatures, to mid-range creatures, and a warrior, although Withered Hand Cultist is still going to be a problem for this deck. But I started thinking more about Action Mage, honestly. Action Mage can get tremendous value to this. I'm looking at Artaeum Savant right now. It benefits from playing Harmony, so it's not as severe of a tempo loss to play Harmony and Aerostorm in the same turn. It curves out of a Crystal Tower Crafter, a card we haven't seen in forever. The problem, of course, with Crystal Tower Crafter right now is that there are now 2 main deckable and kind of ubiquitous red cards that silence a creature and then deal 1 damage to it, and those just destroy Crystal Tower Crafters all day. But it is worth considering, because if there was ever a deck that did play main deck Aerostorm in competitive, competitive, in constructed at least, it would be Action Mage. I don't think this card's particularly good in creatureless decks because you kind of need to trade in order to make that kind of thing worth it. There are historically, of course, monk decks that use Skulk, Goblin Skulk, to pull calms from the deck, and there is some power there. I mean, there are a couple cards that are very good that would benefit from this, including Grizzly Gourmet. But so even though this isn't a build-around card, it's not that sort of card, it is a sort of card that makes you think about things that are not meta right now in order to excise value from it. Obligatory Arena note, this card is really good in Arena. In Arena, Calm is reasonably good. I mean, I actually draft Calm on a semi-regular basis when I have the opportunity to, because it allows for trades, and playing for the board is more important in Arena than it is in Constructed right now, to be perfectly honest with you. And of course, Execute is playable. Execute is a good card, and will always probably be a pretty good card because Goblin Skulk exists, and so does Daggerfall Mage, and those cards are always going to be playable. But yeah, it raises some interesting questions. What do I do with Harmony? I cannot help but believe that Harmony has a place somewhere. I'm looking for coffee. Somebody gave us a crate of almost expired Caribou coffees, and they're all fucking empty. I've been working on homework for a while. I'm losing my fucking mind. But anyway, Harmony's a really tough nut to crack. It's randomly going to blow you out in Constructed. It just will. That's the nature of the card. It's a great prophecy against token decks when they break that first rune with their big creature. Their pit line swings. They have 7 other creatures on the board. Oh, I live another turn. It's most powerful, most effective in 2 decks with a lot of creatures on the board, and it will break that stalemate, even though it's not necessarily a stalemate, because one player has the initiative. But the Harmony will be very powerful in those situations. I like the idea. I love the idea of Harmony. I love this minus power ability, the minus attack ability that yellow gets to use. I have to admit, though, I'm kind of stumped as to where I'm going to be playing Harmony in Constructed. I want to do a series of videos as soon as the expansion drops, where I'm trying out every card, and Harmony is a tough one. There's obvious inclusions that I've gone over, but you need to build. You not only need to build a deck that gives a shit about playing for the board, you also have to run into a deck that's not going to OTK you, that's not going to, that also cares about having board presence. So, in Magical Fantasyland, that's the game we're playing after the expansion drops. It hasn't been necessarily the game we've been playing for a while now. Yeah, I'm excited to play with Harmony. I'm super excited to draft Harmony. I think it's going to be a draft all-star. I mentioned earlier that the Apex Wolf is like a top 15 draft card, right? As soon as it enters the draft pool. It's an epic, so you're not going to see it very much. But Harmony is just a tremendously powerful arena card. And one that I will be drafting much higher than I usually draft, much higher than I draft Calm, to be honest with you, even though Calm I think is really playable as well. This is Harmony. I have to admit I'm a little stumped on it. It's not nearly as built around as any of the other cards that we've been revealed so far, but it's a very powerful effect. If it happens, okay, I just realized the one deck that I've not gone over is the deck that can afford to burn through cheap cards all the time. And that is good old-fashioned Nimira's Shrine decks. The ability to cast a 2-cost action that has a relevant effect on the board on a Nimira's Shrine deck that's playing for the late game is where you might see Harmony. So that would be my first impulse. And now the juice is starting to brew. It took me 10 minutes to get there. But now I'm starting to think about Redoran Doomcrag, a deck that I really enjoy, that runs Executes and Grizzly Gourmets, and Prophecy Harmony could stall long enough to win, and it would allow for favorable trades with Onday Clan Sorcerer. Yes, this is all coming together. Doomcrag, Redoran. Bam! Figured it out. Alright, see you on the ladder.